Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm really excited about this one because this isn't just another Christmas markets itinerary. This is a brand new AmaWaterways itinerary that doesn't even premiere until November 2027. That's right, it doesn't even start sailing until November of next year. And this particular itinerary we chose as part of our Europe Unveiled Signature Hosted Journey series, and we'll be sailing in November of 2028. We'll be sailing from Frankfurt to Nuremberg aboard AmaPrima. And over the next little while, I just want to show you not only where we're going, but what I think this trip is actually going to feel like. We'll talk about the ship, the Christmas traditions on board, the towns and markets we'll visit, the stateroom choices, our optional extensions, and of course, how to join us if you decide this is your Christmas trip. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat or wait until the end. We'll have a Q&A. Now, for those of you who don't know us personally yet, Bryan and I are owners of Bryson Travel Group. It's a full-service travel agency based in Texas. We've actually been traveling through Europe, oh my gosh, more than 30 years now. Europe isn't someplace we discovered when we opened our travel agency. It's been a huge part of our lives for decades. We started hosting groups in 2018, and our most recent hosted river cruise was just last month. Needless to say, we've learned a lot over the years about what makes a hosted journey work, and equally important, what makes it not feel like you're on an organized tour every waking minute. Now, some of you may know me through Europe Unveiled. That's my podcast, all about Europe and river cruising. Others might know me from my Facebook groups, or some of you have sailed with us before. Welcome back. And some of you do live in my community, or I plan amazing journeys for you at some point. But wherever you are from, welcome to all. We are so excited that you're joining us tonight. You'll see this described as a Europe Unveiled signature journey. And the same things I try to do with my podcast and my Facebook groups is making Europe easier to understand, taking some of that overwhelm out of the equation, helping you know what to expect, and sharing the places and experiences that I genuinely love. This is really the philosophy behind these hosted trips as well. Now, why this journey? I mentioned that I lived in Germany with my husband, but I actually lived in Germany before him. I lived there for more than 10 years. So Germany really has always had a very special place in my heart. It's a little different for me than just any other destination. Bryan and I, like I mentioned, we've been traveling all over Europe for 35 years now. And Christmas in Germany is just something that is particularly special. Now, to be fair, there are Christmas markets all over Europe now, and I love many of them. But Germany is where so many of these traditions are deeply rooted. This is where the Christmas markets actually started. So you'll have the lights, the wooden market stalls, glue wine, regional foods, ornaments, music, centuries-old town squares, and every town does it a little differently. No two Christmas markets are exactly the same. So what really attracted me to this particular itinerary is that we aren't going to just one big city, visiting one Christmas market and calling it done. We're traveling through the heart of Germany. We unpack once, and then the city comes to us. One day we may be in a major market like Frankfurt or Nuremberg, and another day we're in a much smaller medieval town where the Christmas experience feels completely different. Now, one of the things I really want you to understand is that Christmas experience doesn't end when we walk back onto the ship, the AmaPrima. The ship is part of the whole entire experience. AmaWaterways decorates beautifully for the season. In fact, I would go so far as to say they have the most decorated ships on Europe's rivers, and their Christmas sailings traditionally include little holiday experiences on board too. Tree trimming celebrations, Christmas caroling with the crew, cookie decorating, and other seasonal activities. Now, this particular sailing includes the St. Nicholas Day, which is such a fun German tradition. St. Nicholas traditionally leaves trees or candy, sometimes cold, depending on if they're good or bad, and the children's shoes. And Alma has incorporated traditions like this into their holiday sellings. Those are the things that make this feel different from simply visiting several Christmas markets on a regular vacation. You come back from the market and you're still very much in Christmas. Plus, you aren't packing and unpacking every few days, checking in and out of hotels, or dragging your luggage over cobblestones. Now, this is the beautiful AmaPrima. For those that went on our last hosted journey, which was last month, July of 2026, AmaPrima is actually the sister ship of AmaChurcho, and AmaPrima, will be our home for the week. She carries only about 162 guests. That's just 81 staterooms, which is one of the things that I love about river cruising. You're not walking around a ship with 4, 5, 7,000 people. You get to know the crew. You begin recognizing the people traveling with you. You settle into a rhythm very quickly. And just look at how beautifully decorated the ship is. That festive feeling doesn't stop when you are back on board. Now, I also want to spend a moment on what actually is included, because river cruising is different from booking a hotel and then you paying separately for everything you do. And river cruise lines also have their own inclusions. So, what might be included with one cruise line might not be included on others. Luckily, AmaWaterways offers a lot of inclusions in your cruise fare. Of course, your 7-night cruise aboard AmaPrima is included. Along with all of your meals on board, there's regionally inspired dining, plus the chef's table specialty restaurant, which is a multi-course menu prepared in an open kitchen by the chef. Absolutely phenomenal. Beer and choice of several wine offerings are included with lunch and dinner. Soft drinks are available complimentary throughout the day, as well as specialty coffees. And every evening, AmaWaterways has their sip and sell cocktail hour before dinner with complimentary beer, wine, and cocktails. And you also have included excursions in every single port. And Ama is very good about offering choices. Some cruise lines only offer one tour a day included. Ama offers multiple tours that you can choose from every single day. And they also offer tours for different paces: gentle walkers, regular walkers, active options, sometimes hikes or bikes, and often specialty excursions. Wi Fi is also available, and I'm telling you, it's very good Wi Fi. So you can stay connected with your loved ones back home. They realize how important that is. They actually spend more on Wi Fi than they do on fuel. You also have onboard wellness activities, a wellness coach, enrichment, and entertainment are also included. And then there's what Brian and I add to the experience as your hosts. Everyone booked into our group will have access to our private Facebook group specifically for this selling. Now, what does that mean? It's not just a Facebook group. As we get closer, we'll have pre-cruise Zoom meetups and informational presentations where we're going to talk about everything about river cruising, from excursions and packing to flights to how to check in, arrival logistics, money, weather, tipping, what to expect, anything that you can think of that you might have a question on with regards to river cruising. We're going to cover that for you. You'll also get personalized travel resources from us to help you travel smarter, not harder. There are river cruise guides, checklists, know before you go guides, everything that you can think of that you would need to help you travel with ease. So the planning really does begin long before we meet on board. Now, one of the questions I do get on almost immediately with river cruises is, which stateroom should I book? And I'm going to be honest with you, there really isn't one answer that works for everybody. AmaPrima has 6 window staterooms, which are just windows that are near the water line. Don't worry, you're not underwater, but they cannot be opened. But they do allow you to peek out. They are closer to the water, so you might even see a swan or ducks paddling by your window. French balconies are basically a Juliet balcony with a sliding door. You can't actually sit out on this type of balcony. your entire room basically becomes your balcony. And then there's Alma's signature twin balconies, which really is the best of both worlds because you get a Juliet balcony, again, that sliding door, and then you have a full sit-out balcony with a few chairs and a table. And then, of course, there's suites, giving you more room and more space, more amenities, and a larger balcony. And I'm going to be honest with you. Some people tell me, Sonia, I'm hardly going to be in my room. Give me the best value. I would probably suggest a fixed window stateroom for you. Someone else might say, nope, I want to open that door, have fresh air, and sit on my balcony. And that's when I would probably suggest a Juliet or a twin balcony. And if you're really wanting extra space and some extra amenities, a suite might be more suited to you. Now, we do have a trip website with all of the information, all of the breakdowns of the stateroom categories for you, and the pricing, of course. The trip website will always be the best place to see the current stateroom pricing and availability. And I'm happy to help you figure out which category of stateroom makes sense for you if you're still undecided. But I'm going to share the trip website a little bit later. Now, this is really where the trip starts coming to life. We begin in Frankfurt and sail to Nuremberg. Now, along the way, we'll visit Frankfurt, Mainz, Koblenz, sail through the Rhine Gorge, visit Rudesheim, Wertheim, Würzburg, with the option of Rothenburg. Then we're on to Bamberg, and finally, we end in Nuremberg. And what I love when I look at this map is the variety. We have large cities, tiny medieval towns, wine country, the Rhine Gorge, UNESCO World Heritage areas, and some of Germany's most famous Christmas markets. And we're doing all of that without continually packing and unpacking. Our first day is embarkation day, of course, in Frankfurt. And this is where I'm going to just take a little side note and give you one of my standard Europe recommendations. Please don't plan on flying in the morning the cruise departs if you can avoid it. I would much rather see you arrive at least one day early. It gives you a buffer if your flight is delayed or your luggage decides, hey, I want an extra day in Amsterdam without you. But more importantly, it lets you begin the cruise rested instead of exhausted. Now, once we board AmaPrima, this is really our settling in day. There won't be any tours because people are still coming in at various times because, yes, people will still fly in the day of. And if you get in early, you can drop off your luggage, you can go explore on your own, or you can stay on board and enjoy lunch in the lounge. And then once your stateroom is ready, you'll unpack, explore the ship, and that evening we'll have our safety briefing where you'll meet the crew, you'll meet some of the other people traveling with us. And by that evening, you get to realize, hey, this is the start of a beautiful, magical Christmas market river cruise. Now, Frankfurt, day 2, is where we really begin. And I'm going to be honest, Frankfurt sometimes surprises people because they picture the modern skyline in the airport. But the historic center around Nuremberg is completely different. At Christmas, it fills with traditional wooden stalls and lights with the historic buildings surrounding you. This is one of Germany's major Christmas markets. So this gives us that wonderfully festive big market experience right at the beginning. You'll see ornaments, handcrafted gifts, seasonal food, and of course, glue wine. And one of my favorite things about the German Christmas markets is that you don't have to treat them like an attraction where you're rushing through, checking things off. Part of the experience is just wondering, stop, eat something, look at the decorations, have another glue wine, people watch. That's the fun of it. Now, day 3, Mainz and Koblenz, going to give us 2 completely different cities. We begin in Mainz, which has a beautiful historic center and very strong ties to Johannes Gutenberg. That's where the Gutenberg Museum is. Now, during the Christmas season, the market and the Old Town Square give it a wonderfully traditional feel. Then we later continue to Koblenz, where the Rhine and the Moselle rivers meet. And this is one of the things I want you to notice throughout the itinerary. We're going to experience several different versions of Christmas in Germany. Frankfurt won't feel like Bamberg. Mainz won't feel like Rudesheim. Wertheim certainly won't feel like Nuremberg. That variety is exactly what makes this itinerary so interesting. Day 4, Rhine Gorge and Rudolph. Now, this is going to be one of those quintessential river cruise days. We will sail the Rhine Gorge, which is UNESCO designated and absolutely beautiful. You'll see vineyards climbing the hillsides, little villages along the river, and castle after castle above us. This is one day when I'm going to tell you, do not spend the whole morning in your stateroom. Grab a coffee or a beverage of choice, find a seat in the lounge or somewhere with a great view, and enjoy the sailing. Then we arrive in Rudolph. Now, Rudolph is wine country, so it brings a completely different personality to Christmas. It's charming, it's festive, it has that Rhine Valley feel to it. This is where the journey itself is every bit important as the destination. Day 5, Wertheim. Now, this is exactly why I love itineraries that include smaller towns. Wertheim has the half-timbered buildings, the narrow streets, and a very intimate medieval center. It isn't supposed to feel like Frankfurt or Nuremberg. That's the point. A small Christmas market really gives you time to slow down and actually look at the handcrafted items, talk to vendors, try something local, wander around without feeling like you're in a crowd of hundreds or feeling like you're not going to get to see it all, because you will. These smaller towns are very often the places that people come back talking about the most. And then day 6, we have Würzburg or Rothenburg. I'm going to tell you, we have a bit of a dilemma on our hands, but it's a good one. You can spend the day in Würzburg, or there's the opportunity to experience Rothenburg. Now, Brian and I, and some of you that are listening, probably have a personal connection to Würzburg because we lived there when he was stationed in Germany with the army. Würzburg is elegant and historic, and the Würzburg resident is extraordinary. But Rothenburg, particularly at Christmas, look, if you've ever seen one of those pictures of Germany at Christmas where you think, that cannot possibly be real, there's a good chance you are looking at a picture of Rothenburg. Cobblestone streets, half-timbered buildings, medieval walls, Christmas decorations everywhere. So I suspect this is going to be one of those excursion decisions that we spend some time discussing in our private group for those that are joining us before we go. And day 7, Bamberg. Bamberg is another place that I think some of you will absolutely fall in love with. It's a UNESCO World Heritage City built across 7 hills, and the historic center is incredibly well preserved. There's beautiful architecture, churches, narrow streets, and that very distinctive Franconian character. You can see the picture right here. This is their Rathaus, or their city hall. It's very unique. You won't see anything else like it in Germany. And then you put Christmas decorations and a Christmas market into that setting. This is our full final day of the cruise. And I think it just gives us a lovely smaller city experience before we reach Nuremberg. Day 8, Nuremberg. So this is actually, sadly, disembarkation day. And we will actually have a tour of Nuremberg with the cruise line. Everyone is getting off the ship and new guests are arriving. Now, the Christkindl market is one of the oldest and most famous Christmas markets in the world. You have the traditional red and white stalls, Nuremberg gingerbread, bratwurst, ornaments, and centuries of Christmas tradition. This is very different from some of the smaller markets we'll have visited earlier in the week. And if you're not doing one of our post-cruise extensions, I would still encourage you to think carefully before immediately flying home. If you've never been to Nuremberg, there's a lot here beyond the Christmas markets too. We do have a 2-night post-cruise extension in Nuremberg. So if you want to visit the Christmas markets and tour the city, you'll have plenty of time to do that afterwards. And if you're not doing one of the post-cruise extensions again, I would still encourage you to think carefully before immediately flying back home on disembarkation day. You could spend another day in Nuremberg, explore on your own, and then head home the next morning. Now, speaking of extending your cruise, we're going to talk about extending your cruise with a pre-cruise extension in Luxembourg. I like pre-cruise extensions for a couple of reasons. First, you get another destination, but second, and this is important, it changes how the whole vacation begins. Instead of landing in Europe, immediately thinking about getting to a cruise ship, you arrive, you settle in, you sleep, you have breakfast, and you begin enjoying Europe. And by the time we board AmaPrima, you're already adjusted to the time zone. Luxembourg itself is absolutely beautiful, with a dramatic setting and a UNESCO-listed historic center. And at this time of year, you also get the festive holiday atmosphere. Your pre-cruise extension in Luxembourg will include your hotel accommodations, guided tours, breakfast each morning, and transfers to the ship. Now, we also have an optional 4-night extension to Dresden and Berlin after the cruise. And if Christmas markets are one of your big reasons for doing this trip, Dresden is especially exciting. The Streitzelmarkt dates back centuries and is considered one of the oldest Christmas markets in the world. Dresden also has wonderful Saxon Christmas traditions, including Dresdner Stollen. And then we finish in Berlin, which gives you something completely different. Berlin is history, architecture, neighborhoods, museums, restaurants, and multiple Christmas markets. So this extension really changes the ending of the trip from medieval and traditional to a much bigger European city experience. Again, your extension would include your transportation from the ship to Dresden and then Berlin, your hotel accommodations, breakfast each morning, and tours in each city. So I want to talk for a minute about what I mean when I say hosted journey, because sometimes people hear group trip and immediately imagine us marching all around Europe together behind a flag, single file. Don't worry, that is not what we do. You are absolutely and encouraged to do your own thing. If you want to wander in town with another couple you met on board, that's fantastic. If you want to sit in a cafe alone for 2 hours with a pastry, I fully support that. What hosting means is that you have us there. Before the trip, we'll help you prepare through our private Facebook group and Zoom meetings. We can answer any question. You can always DM us. You can always reach out to us. During the trip, you have familiar faces, people that you can ask questions, people to have dinner with or drink with, and someone who's there if something doesn't go according to plan. Or maybe you need something during the trip. On previous trips, we've been asked about tip recommendations, restaurant suggestions. We've gone out to get cold medications at the apothecary for our guests, and we'll have some special group moments together too. So don't worry about that. But AmaWaterways runs the cruise, and Bryan and I, as hosts, just add another layer of connection, support, and community. Now, if you do decide this is your trip, the deposit is $400 per person. Right now, there is a really good reason not to wait too long. Through September 30th, we have the combined early booking and group savings of up to $1,000 per person. And if you're eligible for AmaWaterways military or veteran savings, that's an additional $250 per person discount, which is stackable with the other offers. If you have sailed with Ama before and you have a loyal member discount, that can be stacked with the early booking savings, group savings, and military savings as well. Now, the other thing to remember is that river cruises don't have hundreds or thousands of cabins in every category. AmaPrima only has 81 staterooms total, and the 2028 Christmas market season is already starting to fill up. Yes, I know 2028 is a year and a half away. That doesn't necessarily mean a particular stateroom category will be there for you. They could disappear long before the ship itself is sold out. So if you are adamant that you want a suite, or if you're adamant that you want a fixed window, you might want to secure your spot sooner rather than later to make sure that you have that stateroom. Look, I've made this really simple for you. If you're interested, but you're still in the, I'm not quite sure and I need to look at everything stage, scan the Explore the Journey code. That takes you to the full trip website where you can see the itinerary, current stateroom pricing, inclusions, extensions, information, and all the additional details. Everything about the trip will be on the trip website. If you already know you want to travel with us, scan Ready to Join Us. That takes you directly to the booking form, which you will need to fill out so that I can secure your spot. And look, if you're unsure which stateroom you should choose or you have a question, please talk to me. This is exactly what I'm here for. And if you're still sitting there thinking, I really like this, but I need to talk to my spouse or my travel partner, that's completely fine. Use the trip website, look everything over, reach out to me with questions. I would just genuinely love to experience Christmas in Germany with you. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight, and I look forward to sailing with you in November of 2028.